This is a true story sent in by one of my viewers. This is his account of what happened, told in his own words. I wasn't born when my parents first moved into the house, but the strange things started before my birth. My parents moved into 36 Mansel Road, Small Heath, back in 1977. It looked like an ordinary two-story house, modest, worn, and quiet. But it wasn't long before they realized that something inside that house was watching. Before they moved in, my dad was chatting with the former tenants, friends of his, actually. One thing stood out. They gave a strange warning. Whatever you do, don't buy a fish tank. Why? My parents asked. The answer, because the ghost of a little boy watches the fish. If you buy a fish tank, he'll come back. They laughed it off. Everyone did. A silly story, an urban legend. But that warning would come back to haunt us, literally. At first, nothing happened. The house was still, quiet, normal. Then my dad started working some night shifts, and that's when everything changed. My mum was alone one night. Dad was at work. Mum went to bed as normal, nothing happened, or so she thought. The next day, the neighbor stopped her in the street and asked, "What was going on in your back bedroom last night?" Mum replied, "Nothing." Why? There was loud banging and the lights kept flashing on and off. But here's the thing. That bedroom didn't even have a light fixture. There was no bulb, no switch, nothing to flash. And my mum? She hadn't heard a single sound. She figured the neighbor must have been drunk or just imagining things. Still, a seed of fear had been planted. Mum told my dad what the neighbor had said. He just laughed it off and said maybe she has mental issues, she's old. Nothing happened for a while after that. Within that time, I was born. About a week later, my dad had to work nights again. That night, my mum was lying in bed, watching TV. I was in the cot beside her, sleeping peacefully. She was just starting to drift off when she heard something. Not from the TV, not from outside, but right there in the room. "Ah, nice baby." It was a voice she didn't recognize, and it wasn't coming from somewhere she couldn't explain. She looked over. I was still sleeping, but now there was a glowing white light shining on my face. "Oh," the voice said again. Frozen in terror, my mum pulled the covers over her head. She didn't move again until morning. When she told my dad, he laughed, said she must have been dreaming, but she knew what she heard. A few weeks later, my dad was on another night shift. This time, my mum wasn't taking chances. She asked my nan and granddad to come stay. They agreed, even though they were uneasy. They all stayed up watching TV together that night. Everything seemed fine until it was time for bed. Nan and Granddad went upstairs to sleep in the back bedroom. They stepped inside, and something felt off. The air was heavier. The room was too still. But they ignored it, got undressed, climbed into bed. My Nan remembers pulling back the covers, and there was a small heart-shaped pillow she was about to lay her head on. But the moment her head touched it, the curtains flew open, like someone had yanked them apart for a performance at a theater. Then came the smoke. Thick, rolling fog poured in through the window, and inside it, a figure began to form. It was an old man, faded, transparent, but unmistakably real. He had deep eyes, sunken cheeks, and he was watching them. My Nan screamed. My Granddad bolted out of bed, barely dressed, and ran down the stairs in pure panic. But my Nan wasn't so lucky. She was still in the room, still trying to get dressed, and the figure stood in the doorway. It blocked her path, didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there, staring. By this time, my mum had already grabbed me from my cot and was rushing to the hallway. My nan, terrified but determined, screamed, "Please, let me pass." And finally, the figure moved aside. She ran. They all gathered downstairs, shaking, trying to make sense of what just happened. Then they heard it. Footsteps coming down the stairs. That was it. They didn't wait. They didn't grab coats. They didn't look back. They ran out the door, into the street, in the dead of night. Luckily, there was a phone box nearby. They called a taxi and went straight to my grandparents' house. They never stepped foot in 36 Mansel Road again. The following weekend, my dad went back during the day, just to collect our belongings. He didn't stay long, and he never made jokes about ghosts again. Growing up, I heard that story dozens of times. Sometimes I wondered if it was just a tale, something they exaggerated to scare me. But one night, years later, curiosity got the better of me. I went back, just to see. I found Mansel Road, and 36 was still there. But here's the thing. The house looked like it was still empty, abandoned. It looked creepy, and my hair stood on end while looking at that house. It felt like whatever was inside knew me. I just jumped back in the car and didn't go back again. Some houses don't want you to live in them, but some houses remember you. Thank you so much to my viewer who sent me that story. They wish to remain anonymous. If you enjoyed that true horror story, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And remember, if you have a similar story you wish to share, please get in touch. Until next time, sleep well.